Hey there, photography students. What you'll see here is we've got a picture of a dog looking into a mirror, but the dog in the mirror is not the same as the dog looking into the mirror. This is what we're going to create, so let's get going. So this reflection assignment means that we're bringing two images together, and we're having an image that's looking into a mirror and an image that's looking out of the mirror. Now, this could be anything. This could be an image from an older person looking back on when they were younger. This could be a small person looking at a big person. This could be a person dressed in clothes that are business, looking at themselves in a reflection where they're casual. This could be lots of different things. So in this particular example, I'm going to show you two dogs. So I'm going to go File and Open, bring in the first image of the dog. This is the one that's going to be looking kind of at the mirror. And then we're going to open and place the second image, which is this one right here. Now, you'll see that right here, there's a little tiny square in the bottom corner. That image right now needs to be rasterized. That means that we can't open it by double-clicking it. If you watch, if I double-click on this thumbnail, it opens an image beside the original. That's not what I want anymore. I'm just happy that I brought a JPEG in and placed it on top. So make sure that that layer with that little icon there is open, and we go up to Layer, and you could just click Rasterize. So now that is gone, meaning we can't double click and have it open up in its own window anymore. So what I want to do is go down to the bottom here and hover over, and you'll see it says New Folder right here. And I'm going to call this Mirror. And I'm going to take the image of the dog. This is the one that I want, the one that's going to be in the mirror. And I want to move it into the Mirror folder. There we go. No, missed it. Let's try it again. There we go. Now I know that that image, 9009, is in the Mirror folder because when I toggle the caret, the image disappears. And when I toggle the caret again, the image reappears, meaning it's visible, but it's in that folder. And I could condense the folder, especially if I have a lot of things going on in there and I don't want everybody seeing what's going on. Now, what's super important is the next few steps. So pay very close attention to what's going to happen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that layer eyeball. And I'm going to make sure that the mirror is highlighted. I'm then going to go over to my toolbar on the left-hand side and pick the pen tool. Once the pen tool is selected, you need to go to the top and make sure that it says Path, not Shape, but Path. Now this is where it gets kind of cool. Go over top of your image, and here's my mirror, and I'm going to click in the corner, right here, click in the corner right there, click outside the image right here, click over here, and I'm going to close the box. Now, you'll see that if you zoom in, hold the space bar and drag, I did not do a very good job of lining that up. So what do? Well, on your keyboard, if you hold the Control or the Command key down, click and grab that, you can move the line. You got to be holding the Control or the Command key down when you click and drag. And I'll release. Spacebar, drag across the Control or the Command key. See how that highlights as I hover over? Line that up. Now, just scroll down. So I'm holding the spacebar and I'm scrolling down. Hey, Rosie. And you can see I didn't do a good job there at all. So I'll hold the Control key, the highlight comes on, and I will drag to the bottom corner where it lines up nicely. Now I'm just holding the spacebar, hold the Control key, grab this one, line it up, and there it is. Now I'm going to go Command or Control 0 to go back to full screen. So we now have the mirror properly outlined. And because the mirror is properly outlined, we're able to make what's called a selection from this path. Now the selection becomes important because on the mirror, we need to put a mask, but that mask has to have a shape. And the shape comes from the path, which we've converted into a selection. So we go up to the top, right here, Make Selection. Now this comes up and you'll see that there's different choices. This is the first one, and it is Add. So we click on this, and you'll notice that when we click, watch the blue line, it now becomes the marching ants and saying, we have this specific selection. So click on the mirror folder and go down to this icon. It's the 1, 2, 3, fourth icon from the left, and that is add a raster mask. Click on that. And you'll see at this point, nothing has changed. That's because this eyeball for this picture that's in the folder, the eyeball is off. This eyeball can be on. And now if we turn this eyeball on, you can see that in the mirror, we now have our other dog. We also have the ability, if we zoom in, and I hold the space bar and move over, to use the move tool, we now have the ability to move that picture just within the frame. So I'm just going to back up just a little bit, and you'll see I want to make sure that I don't have the frame from the old window, from the window that the reflected dog is in, showing. So I make sure I line that up just a little bit low and a little bit to the right. Now let's check the top. Make sure that we're good there. It's looking good. Oh, we have a little light switch up there, which is fine. Control 0, we'll back up. And let's turn that off and on, and let's see. That's looking pretty darn good. Couple things. I think the reflection, I think overall the image is a little bit dark. So what I would do is I would select the mirror folder, go down to what we call the adjustment layers, but I call it the black and white cookie. And I'm going to put a curves adjustment layer that's going to go over the whole image. So it's going to affect the mirror folder and the background layer. Make sure the curves layer is selected, grab the middle and drag a little bit up, and we're going to brighten the image. Now, it looks to me like this image in the window could use a little bit different work than the outside. So I'm going to select the background, and if I put an adjustment layer here, it's only going to affect the layers beneath it. So I'll do a levels adjustment, grab the midtones, and you can see we're going to, and see how it's not affecting the mirror? That's because this adjustment is below the mirror folder. So we'll just tighten that down a little bit. Let's brighten it up just a little bit more. I think that's looking good, and we'll open up the midtones just a bit. And I know that we have some shadow issues here, but this is just, it's a pretend snapshot rather than a total portrait. So we can have some fun and play around a little bit. Now, I also want to affect what's going on in the mirror, but only the mirror. So I'm going to select the dog, image 9009, and let's do a photo filter. There we go. Turns out that this warm photo filter is kind of necessary because the rest of this wall is a little bit warm. Now, we definitely want to preserve luminosity. And if I change the blend mode of this, let's just see if we change it to color. That won't affect, yeah, that looks pretty good. Now you'll see it's only, now it may or may not only be affecting what's happening in this picture. So we can ensure that it's only affecting what's happening in the picture by holding our Option key down and clicking the button so it only affects the image below it. So we can do, let's just find this right here under layer. So we select the photo filter, go layer, clipping mask. So this says, this little tiny arrow that we see here, this effect that's happening in this adjustment layer, only apply it to the layer below. So it's not applying it to these outer spaces. Now this curves adjustment layer is affecting everything because we haven't clipped it to anything. And this layer right here is only affecting the layers underneath it. So I think we're pretty close to being done. Now, if you wanted to turn this into a black and white, my suggestion would be that you use a gradient map. So we click on gradient map, and this will give us the greatest amount, this will give us the greatest amount of luminosity between the blacks and the whites. I think that looks pretty darn good. Now, let's just crop this in a little bit more. Keep this looking pretty natural, delete cropped pixels. And I think that looks great. Now the export of this image, you could do in so many different ways. You could do File, Export as a JPEG, and you can hand the JPEG in, and that would be absolutely fine. All right, I hope this helped, and good luck with your assignment.